It just dropped down. I'm keeping this in there. Hey guys, it's Calvin and welcome to the magical Apple Magic Mouse review spectacular. Magical. In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Apple Magic Mouse 2. Now this mouse came out a while ago and I think you can get this particular mouse for about $79 on Apple's website. They also have a space gray version which looks so good, but I think that one costs $99. So it is a little bit more pricey, but the one I'm reviewing is just the silver or the white version. Now, I'm going to say right off the bat that this mouse is not for a lot of people. In fact, it's probably not for most people. And in fact, it's probably not even for the absolute die-hard Apple fans that I know nothing about. Now, with a lot of different Apple products that come out, people tend to make fun of them and turn them into memes and all sorts of stuff. And this was no exception. When Apple came out with the design of this mouse, it was pretty polarizing. So it had this very smooth glass plastic top. It had this aluminum body at the bottom, and then it has these really hard plastic rails that are used for gliding along the surface. And you can tell it does not look like a typical mouse. It doesn't have the two separate buttons. It doesn't have a scroll wheel. It doesn't have additional configurable buttons on the side. It's just this very clean, very minimal design of a mouse. Now, the thing that made this Apple Magic Mouse so magical was the surface. The surface is what Apple calls a multi-touch surface. And you can do a lot of things on the surface of this mouse as you can on a MacBook Pro trackpad. You can do things like swipe between pages by just moving your finger left and right. You can pan across a document that you're working on. You can double tap to zoom into things like web pages and a few other magical things. I've been using this mouse for about a year or a little bit over a year, and I do like it for very particular reasons. But even with that, again, it's not a mouse for everybody. So I have a lot of different workflows. I do coding, I do a little bit of design work, I do a little bit of video editing and a few other things. And the reason that I chose this mouse over some other mouse like an MX Master mouse were, again, for very particular reasons. The first being is that I love the surface and the ability it has to do things like panning across documents. This is really useful when I'm coding or working on a design doc or even video editing where I'm looking at my timeline and I can easily control the position of the viewport for whatever video that I'm working on. I also love that you can swipe between multiple desktops on a Mac. I love that you can move around in all different directions in a coding document or even something like Photoshop or any other design software. And I also really like the function of being able to double tap on the top of the mouse and be able to zoom in on certain places like a website. So let's talk about tracking speed. So this is a Bluetooth connected mouse. So it pairs to your Mac or your iMac or even your iPad via Bluetooth. And the tracking speed on the mouse is really, really good for a Bluetooth mouse. Obviously, if you know a little bit about mouses or mouses, you know that hardwired mice are always a lot faster, always less lag prone. However, if you're using it for something like gaming or something that requires a lot of precision and very little reaction time, like gaming, I would probably stay clear of this mouse. And while we're on the topic of gaming, again, I would not use this mouse for gaming at all if it is something very, very fast paced. One, because it is pretty heavy compared to a lot of other mice. That, and there are quite a bit of buttons on this mouse that are missing. So you can't do a lot of those customizable button setups that a lot of gamers use for their mice. Additionally, there is something that I don't like about this mice, and that is the actual click resistance of the surface. So when you're clicking on the mouse, there is a little bit of resistance that you feel on the actual button press. That being said, if you don't use this mouse extensively throughout the day, you're probably not gonna really feel that pressure and you're not going to feel any sort of strain. But if you are using this mouse for a very long period of time, maybe all throughout your day, the click resistance can get a little bit straining. Now, I really like mice that have very low click resistance. It just makes using the mouse a little bit more ergonomic and you can use it for a longer period of time. With this mouse, if you are going to use it all day, you will feel a little bit of a strain on your fingers. It's not much, but it is there and it's something to take note of. Okay, so let's talk about the battery life and charging. And this is probably the thing that led to the most amount of memes on the internet. So as far as battery life is concerned, I use this mouse pretty extensively all throughout my day in my workflows, video editing, coding, and other things. Now, the mouse itself can last me about 2 to 3 months on a full charge, depending on how heavy or little I use it during that time period. And a lot of people do not like this mouse simply because of the way it charges. Now, you can see that the design itself, again, is very smooth, very clean, very minimal. And so Apple, when they were designing this, they didn't want to obstruct the actual design with some sort of physical charging port on the front or on the back of the mouse. So you can't actually use this mouse when it's plugged in. You have to turn it upside down, plug in a lightning cable into the charging port, and wait for it to charge up. So the way that you charge this mouse is probably a big negative for a lot of people. That being said, like I said before, the battery does last me quite a bit of time. So the charging to me is not really a big deal. And on that note, you can charge this thing for about 5 to 10 minutes at a time, and it can get you throughout the rest of the day. So if you do use this mouse one day and the battery is running really low, which your Mac or your iPad will tell you when the battery is actually running really low, you can just charge it in for 5 to 10 minutes, go take a break, come back, and it should last you the whole day, or at least long enough to where at the end of the day, you can just plug this in overnight, come back tomorrow, and you should be fully charged and good to go. So, in conclusion, is this mouse for most people? Probably not. Is it for the diehard Apple fans? Maybe. If this mouse came with your iMac when you bought it and you're not doing anything too crazy, you're just using your computer to do pretty basic stuff, check your email, use the web browser and do other basic stuff, then this mouse will work fine. If you are doing something a little bit more precise and something that requires a lot more speed, this is probably not for you. I would highly recommend the Logitech MX series mice. They are really great, but this is a pretty decent mouse if it just came for free, or not for free, but it came with your iMac. Now, if you are doing something like coding, or you are doing something like video editing or photo editing, then I actually think this is a really good mouse simply because of the multi-touch surface that Apple has on this mouse. It's almost like having a magic trackpad built into your mouse, and that, I think, can improve productivity by quite a bit. That is the single reason that I bought this mouse, and so far I've been really happy with it. That's not to say that I'm not jealous of the people that have an MX Master, especially the MX Master 3 mouse, but this is a really good mouse for those particular types of workflows. Now, for everything else, if you are looking for a general all-purpose mouse that can do a lot more, again, I would recommend the Logitech MX series, but for all other cases, this is a decent mouse. Okay, so that was the review. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I'll try to respond back to as many as I can. If you do have the space gray version of this mouse, I am jelly because that mouse looks so cool. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, bye. I really should make my bed. Does that look better? Okay, I think that looks better. Yeah, good enough.